Are you a coach, trainer, or expert who wants to serve others with your expertise and make good money as you do so? In this in-depth training workshop, I'm going to share with you my proven method for launching, promoting, and selling your online courses profitably. So grab your pen and notepad. Meanwhile, if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to our channel and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss any of our videos.
Okay, brilliant. Good. So what we're looking at tonight is launching, promoting, and selling your online course. Now, as I work through this, if you do have any questions, please feel free to type them in the chat box, and I will try to get your questions answered tonight. I'm really proud of this, so I feel I should share this with you. Now, this is the very first online course I ever created, right? And this was for the entrepreneurial space. Now, I believe this is a very ugly sales page. It really is a very ugly sales page. But you'll understand in a brief moment why the sales page didn't even matter and why this particular program has sold hundreds. I've had hundreds of people who bought this program since I created it in, I believe, March. Either February or March, I can't recall now, 2012. I've had hundreds of people buy it from around the world. This is the 21-day internet business program. I called it the #1 training program on making money online for internet business newbies. And this was a program I created for the entrepreneurial space. I've been building businesses by this time, I've been building businesses for 10 years online. Okay, and I just, and I've been in the space for a while, and I saw that there were a lot of people in the space who were teaching stuff, but it was usually very high level stuff. There wasn't, it was deep, heavy stuff. There wasn't, step-by-step guidance for people who wanted to start out. And I knew a lot of people who wanted to start out, and they couldn't handle a lot of the deep teaching that was available, and that was the idea behind this program. Okay, so this is the 21-day program that I talked about. This was the very first freedom course I created, and now hopefully you can see it. And yes, and it's a very plain sales page, but it did very, very well, and I'm going to be explaining why. It's a £900 program. Okay. And then this is one I created in 2014, which was in a different niche. So I did in the entrepreneurial niche. I also did one in the career acceleration niche. And this was another one that also sold hundreds of copies. And this one is called Set Up for Flight. And which again, I have a background because of my corporate background. I was able to draw from that and create this really amazing program that also, did very, very well. But so I just felt to share that with you so you can understand the power of this stuff. And you don't need to have any fancy graphic design skills. I mean, look at how plain this is, right? I mean, this is even more plain, right? But it did very well. I'm going to share with you exactly how I did that in a brief moment. And off of the back of these, I was able to sustain my lifestyle. So first of all, let me just quickly talk about certain wrong assumptions that make it difficult for us to generate sales from our online courses. And these are assumptions that many of us have made, and I'm going to help you understand why they're wrong, and I'm going to then guide you through how I do what I do. So this is where you definitely want to start taking notes. The first one is this. We think that people need to actually see the product or sales page before they pay you for it. There is, a lot of people struggle with virtual online courses. People think, if you don't have a physical product, people are less likely to buy. And you know what? That is not true, right? That is not true. I'm going to really, I'm going to debunk that in a moment, and I'm going to show you with facts, right? Why people buy, and it has nothing to do with seeing the product or not. Okay. Another thing is, people think that you need to make a lot of noise on social media, and I see a lot of that. Spend a lot of money to launch your online course, and that's not true. I've launched my online courses. Most of my friends on Facebook never even knew I had created an online course, but I was getting some phenomenal results with them. So you don't need to make a lot of noise on social media. Actually, I personally believe you shouldn't make a lot of noise on social media apart from within your communities, right? I really do believe that. I do believe it weakens your brand when you are pretty much making your life when you're building your life, because there's you and there's your business. And I really do believe this, right? And you see, and I really, you don't need to make a lot of noise on social media, because it does weaken your brand, because it's almost like your whole life is consumed by this business, and your life shouldn't be consumed by this business, because there's more to your life than the business. And also, people think, well, I need to spend a lot of money to launch my online course, and that's not true. That isn't true. That's just a wrong assumption. I'm going to share with us what we should be doing instead. And finally, if I'm going to have to make this work, I need to spend a lot of money to advertise. That is so untrue, and I'm going to be sharing with you what we should be doing instead. Okay, so I talk about selling before you create. People just need to believe before they buy. They don't need to see anything. And I'm going to break that down for you. I'm going to share with you how I've done that so you can implement that. The second thing is this: launch small. And I really do say, I'm going to just write that down: launch small. You don't need to do hyped up launches. You don't need to do hyped up launches. You just do your small launches. Remember, success sells, and that's the key thing. And I'm going to really break this down. I mean, I'm sharing these secrets with you, but I'm going to break them down, really show you how they look, what they look like, and how to implement them. Success sells. Use the success of your first buyers to launch to those who are most likely to buy from you. So your launch is not about making a truckload of money. It's just about launching. That's it. Okay. The key, though, is secret 3: partner to success. You use the power of partnerships. And that is my big secret. I'm going to share this with us to multiply sales. You use the power of partnerships to multiply sales. Okay. All right. Let's go into this in some more detail. So like I said, people just need to believe before they buy. They don't need to see anything. So don't believe all that hype, right? Now, and let me just really just explain this to you and help you understand. This is really about people. I've had, my very first course, and I'm going to share this with you. My very first course, the one I just shared with you now, the 21-day internet business program. I'll share the story behind it so you can understand this particular secret and how to implement it. Now, this was it. I had created a course, an email course in 2007, which I call the Free Internet Business Course, which was just a series of emails, about 5, 6, or 7 emails. It was earlier than 2007. I think it was 2005, sorry. And I created this particular course, and I set it up online, and I had a lot of people take up the course because it was free. I had thousands of people all over the world who accessed the course at the time. And the way I made money from that particular program was from the tools I recommended using my affiliate links. And that's all I did, right? So when I left my job, I looked at that course and I realized that while the principles were up to date, a lot of the systems had changed. And so I decided to do an up-to-date free internet business course. And when I asked my subscribers, and I'll just share the story behind this, I asked my subscribers, and some of them said, well, DJ, why don't you do a more robust course, which is a step-by-step process that we can follow? Okay, and I said, cool. And that was where the idea for the 21-day internet business program was born. But I did not go and create the course. This is what I did, and this is where you want to pay attention. What I did was this. I decided that I was going to sell the course and create it later. So what I did was I set up a webinar, and I called the webinar How Money, this was the title of the webinar. So this is the clue, all right? How money is really made online and how to get yours. I still remember the title very vividly. How money is really made online and how to get yours. And I just targeted, my community, my subscribers. I sent SMS text, I promoted it, I promoted it to my community. And I had a few people register for that particular webinar. It was less than 100 people, right? It was less than 100 people registered for that free webinar. This was in January 2012. It was a free webinar, how money's really made online and how to get yours. And I literally just shared with them, how I did it. I taught them how I did it. And at the end, I let them know that I was going to be launching a course soon. Hear that? I let them know I was going to be launching a course soon. And I told them what the course was all about. It was going to be called the 21-Day Internet Business Program. And I really sold it to them. Remember, they got value off of the webinar, and I let them know what the program was going to be like. And I also then basically said, and this is what I recommend you do. I said, right, this is how much it's going to be when we release it, which was the case, $900, sorry, £900. But I did say, I'm looking for 21 people to be my elite group, right, who are going to go through this program as I'm designing it, and I'll be taking feedback from you. And in exchange, I'm going to allow you to access the program. And I think I sold it to them for maybe 200, maybe, £200 or something like that, really cheap, right? And so I did have exactly, funny enough, 21 people, right, register for that particular course. So they paid for it before I created it. And that's what I recommend that you do. That particular process is sell it through teaching. And those of you know that my principle is sell through teaching, sell through teaching. There's nothing more powerful than selling through teaching. Educational marketing. So, and that's what I did. So I taught on the topic that was relevant to the particular course I was going to sell. Clue there. I taught on a topic that was relevant to the product I was going to create, and then I sold it and I had people buy. And that's what I recommend you do, is you actually sell it before you create it, right? Now again, people think, yeah, but are people going to buy if there's no physical product? Yes, they will buy. Why? Because people don't buy products. They buy into you. That's the key thing you need to understand. They're buying you. They're buying you and your promise. So if you come across as credible, and that's, and hopefully if you don't lie to people, and if you add great value to them, and if over time, if you've been consistently honest and with integrity, then people are going to trust you enough to spend their money with you. That's just the way it is. So you're saying, I'm giving you my word. I'm going to create this program, and when I create it, you're going to have full access at a discount because you're taking advantage early, and people are going to do that, right? And so that's the first thing you want to do, is before you even create the course, run a webinar that is on a topic relevant to the product that you're looking to create. Off the back of the webinar, pre-sell the course, okay? They don't need to see a sales page. They don't need to see the product. They just need you to tell them what it's going to do for them. And they need to believe in you, and they need to believe in your promise. If they believe, they will buy, okay? That's it. So people just need to believe before they buy. They don't need to see anything. And this is one key thing I would want us to really understand. You know what, guys? Do me a favor, just share in the comment section, what your thoughts are on what I've shared so far. What are your thoughts on what key thing has stood out for you as we move on here? So this is, and if you do have any questions about what I've covered about this first step, which is selling it before you create it, please type it in the chat box and I will make sure I answer that question. Okay? Great. So I've covered that. Now, another thing which is really crucial, which is now that I have created it, so now that I've created the program, so you've designed it, you've set it up online, we now want to launch it. And this is where a lot of people then get into I need to do a big launch, and you don't need to do a big launch. You don't need to waste your money and your energy. You don't even need to. Now, let me explain how I have launched my courses, and how I recommend you launch them as well, right? So you want to leverage, right? So what do you want to leverage, right? One, you want to leverage off of the results, the excitement, and the energy of those elite buyers who bought your program, before you even created it. Remember, they've used it first, they've experienced it first, and they should be very excited, right? So what you do, again, I'm recommending exactly what I do, right? So what you do is this. You can set up a webinar. Again, I'm talking about webinars because I really do believe that webinars are probably the most powerful way for you to sell your online courses. There's lots of other ways, and there are some good other ways, and I will share when I talk about the third secret another really powerful way to do this, but I'm going to be talking primarily about webinars. Why? Because the webinars give you great leverage. You don't even need to leave home, and you could be making a ton of money every week, reaching new people, reaching continents, reaching new countries, reaching, thousands of people across the world without even leaving your home. You don't need to hire a venue. You don't need to do any of that stuff. And you don't even need to have a website. Fact, to sell a lot of your online courses. You don't even need a website if you just use the power of webinars. Okay, good. So what you do is this: you partner with your customers. These 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 people who bought your course before you created it. You partner with them, right? So you can set up some sort of affiliate program or affiliate system, and you partner with them for them to brag about a webinar you're doing, talk about you to their community, to their friends, and invite their friends to a webinar that you're running, right? I really want you to follow this process, right? I really want you to follow to really get what I'm saying here, because this is very powerful. So let's say you had 10 people. So we use let's say you had 10 people who bought your course before you created it. You now have a launch date where you're now going to be launching it, where it's going to be now available to the public. You've created it, they've experienced it, they're excited. So you would get them to, you partner with them as affiliates. So maybe you're going to give them 50% of every sale that comes through them. And then you get them to promote the webinar, what I would call the launch webinar, to their friends and their family and their community, and they'll talk about you because you're now their mentor. You have helped them. They've bought your program, they've experienced it, they're in your inner circle. They're going to promote it. The people who they're promoting it to, they have credibility with those people. So you're borrowing off of their credibility. So the people who they're promoting it to will trust them, and because of them, they will register for your webinar, right? Now, you would also promote it to your contacts as well, but you don't need to, in fact, I recommend you don't spend any money. Don't spend any money, don't do any of that, but just promote it to your community and get all the people who've experienced your course in pre-creation to promote it to their contacts as well. Their credibility is going to get good people on, people who are likely to buy, right? Now, they have validated you, so they've established your authority. So let's say you have 10 people, and each of these 10 people have 20 people who register for the webinar. That's 200 people. Let's say let's say you then have 50 people, that's 250 people who register for your webinar. So there's no blasting all over Facebook and all that. It's just each person, bragging and making noise within their communities. And you've got 250 people who register for your webinar where you teach. The other thing is you would have gathered testimonials from the people who have gone through the elite program for that particular course. Okay, so you have their stories, you teach, their stories validate the course, and you sell. And if you do this properly, you should be getting a conversion rate of about 30%. So if you have 250 people there, you probably would be getting sales of probably about 80 people, or about 80 people. Yeah, you'd be getting about 80 people who are going to buy your online course off the launch. And even let's say it's a $500 product. 80 people, $500. I don't know how much that is. $500. That good money. It's good money, right? So that's about $40,000, right? $40,000, right? Probably about $20,000 you're going to share with them as affiliate commission, but you make some good money there as well, right? Right. So that's pretty much how you launch. So and some launches will be really big, some launches would be really small, but it doesn't really matter. The launch is just the launch. It's the way of actually releasing your product to the market, right? And that's what you're looking to do here. So don't, just do it and you get some good results. That's great. If your results are better than you were hoping, that's great. If they're not as good as you were hoping, that's fine. You learn from that and you move on, right? Good. Now, if you do run the webinar well, you should get some very, very good conversions. Okay, great. Now, I've run with that. Now, number 3, using the power of partnerships to multiply sales. Okay, I've just seen a question come through. How does a first timer on this online creation path get the first set of interested people who will eventually buy? It's through your contacts. Well, if you started building your community already, Oluchi, if you started building your community, well, you know what? I'll come back to that question. I do promise, right? So anybody else have any questions, please type them in and I'll just come back and I'll answer questions, before we close. All right. Now, using the power of partnerships to multiply sales. And this, folks, I'm going to really show you by numbers how this works, because this is it. This is it. Okay. Now, one thing many of us will not have is a massive budget. We don't have a lot of money to play around with, but that doesn't mean that we can't do this thing and that we can't do it well. And I'm going to share with you how we can do this and how we can make it work well for us. And the way we do that, right, is using the power of relationships, partnerships, connections. And this is what I did, and I'll just share. I was doing at the time a minimum of 1 joint venture webinar a week. Now, let me explain this, and I'm going to break it down for you how I was doing it, right? And how you can implement this in your business, because you now have an asset. Your online course, your power course is an asset. It's an asset that you can sell, and because it adds value to the marketplace, and people will spend money for the promise of what it's likely to deliver for them. Okay, so that's an asset. But now you need to put that asset in front of the right people. How can you put it in front of the right people? Partner with the people who have access to these people. That's the secret. Partner with those who have access to them. You see, a lot of times people want to partner with people, they want to JV with people, but the problem is they don't really have a very powerful asset that they can use to JV, because they haven't, so it might be a lot of times when people want to JV, they want to JV on things like an event, and there's nothing wrong with JVing on an event, but sometimes it's even that's a thing. So it's like people come up with ideas for really good things, but they're not the best for joint venture partnerships. Online courses are up there as one of the best for joint venture partnerships alongside subscription programs. Those are the 2 best things for joint venture partnerships: subscription programs and online courses. They're absolutely phenomenal. Okay, right. Now, so let's look at how you do this. And it really is very simple. Start to build relationships, start to go out, start to go to events, and start to connect with people who are influencers with the people you're trying to reach. That's it. So think about it. What's the space you're working in? Who are the people who will have access to people who fit the profile of your target market? And it doesn't necessarily mean that they may not even be, sometimes they could be complementary. Sometimes they don't even have to be. So what do I mean by that? Now, let's say you work in the, I'm thinking of something. You work in the fitness niche. I don't have anything to do with the fitness niche at all, right? But that doesn't mean that if you have a really amazing home study program for people who want to burn fat and build muscle, right, that you can't come to me and say, DJ, I've got this really great program. Have a look at it. It might be useful for you. Have a look at it and let me know what you think. Obviously you need to have started to build a relationship with me before you invite me to have a look at it. So the first thing is start going out and start building connections, start building relationships. So I have a look at the program and I find it really exciting. I'm thinking, wow, this is really interesting. Now remember, I'm in the coaches, speakers, and writers niche. I'm not in the fitness niche. But let's say I look at it, I'm really fascinated, I start to implement it and I see some results, and then you say, DJ, why don't we do something? Why don't we run a webinar for your community, and I'm just going to share, how to burn fat and I don't know, something that would align. Right now, my community is coaches, speakers, and writers. But that doesn't mean I can't send an email to my community saying, hey, folks, how are you doing? You know what? This is real. I'm really excited because just wanted to share, my fitness regime. This was me 6 weeks ago, and this is me now. I'm not super muscly or anything, but I'm definitely a lot better. And I'm really excited because this friend of mine, Anthony's doing this and this and this and this. And I had to invite him to come and share, with some of us. As you know, as coaches, we need to be really fit. We need to take care of our health. He's just going to come and share with us, 10 steps to being really healthy as a coach, blah, 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 something like that. And go ahead and register. Could I do that? Yes, I could, if we have a relationship. I'm not going to do that with just any fitness coach, but if we have a relationship, and that's building a relationship, and I like your product, I have a look at it and I like it, and I think this is a great product that would help my people, can I do that? Yes, I can, right? And it's the same thing with a lot of people out there. So you need to start building relationships and make sure you have a product that is quality, that when they have a look at it, they will want to share it, right? And you just really just start, and that's it. So you just start to build relationships. And then these people will put you in front of their people, and it's a partnership. And it would usually, my recommendation is 50-50 splits, which is they get 50% and you get 50%, basically. My very first joint venture webinar, it was by chance. Again, this guy this was a story. Again, we had a relationship. Clue there. We had a relationship, and then he came up to me and says, well, DJ, I'm really struggling to fill seats for my live event in London. What can we do? And I thought, well, and that's when the idea came. I said, well, let's do this. Let's promote a webinar, how money is really made online and how to get yours, with one of the speakers at the event. And promote that to your community, promote that to your contacts. And he did that. We had a bunch of people come on. I taught that. I sold it, and we made about £6,000. And that was the first time. And I just felt, wow, £6,000 in less than 2 hours. This was amazing. And that's when I realized, you know what? There's a lot of other people out there who've, because it was a great course and I know they were going to get great value out of it. This was when it just dawned on me how to do this. And I was doing a minimum of one webinar a week. Now let's look at the numbers here so you can understand how powerful this is, right? Now, imagine each person puts 50 people in front of you during that live webinar. Okay, and let's say the conversions are, I did say an average 30%. So 30% of 50, you know what? I don't even know what 30% of 50 is. Is that 15? Yes, 30% of 50 is 15. Yes, okay. So that's 15 sales per webinar. Let's say it's a $200 product, okay? So 15 times 200 is $3,000. Okay, so every week you host you JV with someone on a webinar, you get 15 sales, you get $1,500 of a $200 product, you get $1,500. They as the creator of the program, and they get $1,500 as the person who had, because remember, they have the credibility with their people, and they promote you as the authority in that niche. That's why JV webinars are powerful, because you don't need to establish your credibility. This person has credibility with their audience, and they establish your authority by edifying you, and then you enhance that authority by teaching and adding value. So by the time you're making the offer, and that's why the conversions are usually very, very high off of these joint venture webinars. It just works extremely well. Now, and that's pretty much how you do it. So your goal is one webinar a week, and that's one joint venture partner a week. And the key thing is, look at key influencers. The more of an influencer they are, the better. And the key thing is to nurture relationships. Invest in relationships with key influencers. Yes, sometimes it may take time. So you would have a lot of people who you're relating with. Some people, it might be 6 months after initial contact before they host a webinar with you. The people who take the longer are usually the people with the most influence. And that's because their schedules are very, very tight. And you just got to be patient, right? And keep nurturing those relationships, because this is the power key to really making it work. You've put in all the hard work, you've created this amazing course. Nurturing these relationships to get these sales is really, the exciting thing, right? So like I said, we're looking at getting, to sell 10 to 50 copies of your online course every month with a zero budget. And that's the goal here, is you don't want to, you're not spending money on Facebook ads, you're not spending money on advertising in newspapers or magazines. It's pretty much just people putting you in front of their own people because you've built a relationship with them and because they believe you have an amazing product. Okay, so those are the two things: build relationships, have an amazing product. That's the secret. Okay. So you use the power. Okay, so let me ask a question right now before we go on. I have one more. I mean, I did mention 3, but I do have one more that I'm. Let me see if I have time. Would you want me to share one more strategy for generating sales? Are you up for it? Because I do have one more I'd love to share with you, but I want to see that we're up for it. If we are up for it, then I will go ahead and I will share it. But while you type that, I'm just going to answer the question from earlier. How does a first timer on this online creation path get the first set of interested people who will eventually buy? Well, basically, again, what you do is you promote a webinar and promote it to your contacts. And that's what I did. Like I said, how money's really made online and how to get yours. And I just promoted it to my contacts. You can send SMS text messages to your contacts. You can send Facebook messages. Now, not Facebook messaging a lot of people at one time. Individuals, send individual Facebook messages to people, inviting them to your free webinar. And yes, it is manual, but you're looking to get as many people as possible, right? Also, what else could you do? Things like WhatsApp, send WhatsApp broadcasts, not group messages, but broadcasts. So each individual gets the message, inviting them to this particular webinar, right? And that's pretty much how you do that. And then if you have a small list, promote it to your list as well. You have a Facebook group or a LinkedIn group, promote it to your group as well. And that's pretty much what you do, and you get 30, 40, 50, 60 people who register for your webinar, that eventual webinar where you get people who buy before you even create it, right? So, Alicia, I hope that answers your question. Okay, good. Now, okay, so before we move on, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen in a moment, and I'm just going to share a few things with us. What is the biggest learning point for you so far? So I've covered a few things. I am going to cover the final one. I've had a couple people come back and say yes, they do want me to share it. So I am going to share that very, very quickly. But as I just get into that, I want you to share with me what the biggest learning point for you is so far. All right, so the fourth element here in selling your course, and this is, and that is automated selling. And I'm going to basically just share this with you. Automated selling is one that I find really, really exciting. This is the one where you go to bed, or I remember one particular time, I was at the cinema, like with my missus. And my wife and I were watching a movie, and then my phone buzzes, and I quickly pick up my phone, and then I see a message, and then someone is saying, "Oh, thank you, DJ. I found this really, really useful." And I was like, "What's this person talking about?" Right? "Thank you so very much, DJ. I found this really, really useful." I'm thinking, who is this, and what are they talking about? I leave the cinema, and I see a few PayPal payment notifications have come in, and that's when it clicked for me. What it was is this person was watching an automated webinar that I had set up, where and the whole idea. This is pretty much how you do it. So once you've been running these JV webinars for a while, by the time you've had about 10, 15, 20, right, you will come to realize, the perfect way to present and to teach to get maximum buyers of your online course. When you're at this point, what I recommend you do is to now run a live webinar. Run a live webinar. By this time, your list would have grown, and promote this webinar, okay? And the webinar, what are you going to teach? It's the same thing, right? But this time, this is the whole idea, is you're going to record this webinar. You're going to teach it. This is just you. And you're going to sell that online course at the end. And by this time, you will have perfected, because you've been doing this for a while, you will have come up with the perfect pitch, the perfect process, the perfect time to, introduce your offers and things like that. You would have done that. You would have master that. And so this webinar would be a very good one, and you'll know that because you'll get some good conversions. What you then do is then take this webinar that you have recorded, this what I like to call a winning webinar, take this winning webinar and now set it up as an automated webinar, which means, you know, people go, they register for the webinar for a set date and time, and they show up. And because the original webinar was interactive and live, it's the same live experience they have. So you just need to, this is where you can start spending money, right? So this is where you can then start using things like Facebook ads, and you're driving traffic towards this webinar. You're driving traffic towards this webinar, okay? And people are registering for the webinar, and your follow-up systems in place. I mean, all the things that you need to have in a good winning webinar in place to really get people to pre-sell them before the webinar. They come onto the webinar, they get great value, just like it's a live webinar, by the way, right? And this is a live webinar. This is not an automated one. I think I should just say that right now. I'm not setting this up as automated. This is actually live. I'm in my office, and it's 9:57 UK right now. Okay, just felt to share that so you don't think, is this an automated webinar? No, it isn't. All right, great stuff. So where was I? Yes, and then at the end of the webinar, you make the offer like you normally would, and again, the numbers just pan out. So if it's a 30% conversion, for every 100 people who watch the webinar, you would expect to get 30 of them who would actually buy. And once you now know the numbers, you just set this up, and this is really that cash machine thing that I talk about. This is the exciting bit. You're going to be adding value to people. This is really high. This is very low commitment, but high value. And this is the place where you don't want to do this immediately. This is the last bit. This is, you know, once you've done the JVs for a while, you've mastered your delivery, you've mastered the process. This is the time where you can now set up your automated webinar, drive paid traffic to it, and start earning perpetual income. Awesome, awesome. Okay, great stuff. So what have we covered? We've looked at selling it before you actually create it, saying that people don't just need to believe before they buy. I've talked about using the success of your first buyers to launch it to those who are most likely to buy. And then also talked about using the power of partnerships to generate buyers. And finally, the fourth thing that I did talk about is I talked about how to use the power of automation to start generating sales, you know, even if you're not there. So you go away on holiday and that's working for you. It's serving, it's adding value to people, and it's making money for you as well.
Wow, that was a fair bit we went through there. Now, don't forget to like the video, and also please leave a comment letting me know how useful this was. And if you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss any of our videos. And finally, if you wanted to discuss anything about your online course, maybe it's the course idea, maybe it's creating it, launching it, promoting it, or scaling your course, feel free to check the link in the description and send me a personal message. I'd love to help you profit from serving your world with the power of online courses.